They don't trust each other. So let's replace country X and country Y with India and Pakistan. As simple as that. You trust the Pakistani government? Yes, we can. With the confidence that they would do something wrong. No? We can trust that. So now the question is, in this condition, tell me how India and Pakistan, they can engage with each other. Especially, let me tell you about one particular situation. December 2001, there was an attack on Indian Parliament. Two terrorist organizations together, Lashkar-e-Taiba, Jaish-e-Mohammed. These two terrorist organizations together, they attacked Indian Parliament. Some 4 security personnel died in the process, right? India initiated one military operation called Operation Parakram. Indian military started building up across India-Pakistan border. Year 2001. India was already holding nuclear weapons. When did we conduct the nuclear weapons test? 1998. Right? Originally, they were planned by P.V. Narasimha Rao government, 1994. But somehow the Americans caught us. That movie, Pokhran, don't go by that movie. It's propaganda, typical propaganda. It was not because of any inefficiency. Right? Anyway. So, there are lots of problem with this Hindi movie industry or Indian movie industry. We just cannot trust them. Making authentic documentaries is out of their gene. It's nowhere in their gene. They just can't make it. They can't make proper copies, man. This movie, Lal Singh Chadda by Amir Khan. What was that? A copy of Forrest Gump. One of the worst copies of Forrest Gump. We can't make proper copies and we would be making documentaries. Let's come back. Anyway, so 1994 we first planned it, but we couldn't do it. The Americans caught us red-handed. 1998, we went for it because already the weapons and everything, they were prepared, they were there. The project was handed over by the previous government to the next government and they conducted it. Okay, so 2001, when this Operation Parakram is taking place, Indian army is building up across the India-Pakistan border. Already India and Pakistan, they both are declared nuclear weapon state. And when Indian army started building up across India-Pakistan border, Pakistan also started building up its army across India-Pakistan border. So just imagine January 2022. The two armies of two nuclear weapon states, they are standing in front of each other, facing each other in an alert condition. Was that a very comfortable situation? Say, even by mistake, if one soldier had fired a shot, the other side would have taken it as an act of aggression or attack has started, they would have attacked. And the war would have started. And the war would have started between two nuclear armed countries. Clear? How did we scale it down? How did things came back to normalcy? Because during this particular span, India and Pakistan, they were just not ready to trust each other. Today, India and Pakistan, they are not even in talking terms. So what happened here? How things got normalized? I'm looking at two journalists. One journalist from Indian side, I can name him because Government of India accepted the role played by him, and he was even given Padma Vibhushan. Kuldeep Nair. He's no more. Kuldeep Nair was very close to Atal Bihari Vajpayee and L.K. Advani. Right? And he was one of the senior most journalists in India. I cannot use the name of the Pakistani journalist in spite of knowing it because Pakistan never accepted his role. These two journalists, they started talking to each other first. Two journalists talking to each other. Right? As simple as that. When they developed a basic level of understanding, then they pulled the governments together. Then the governments became part of the discussion. And finally, by March 2022, things started normalizing. It is called de-escalation process, where the armies were being pulled back gradually in phase-wise manner. But first, the discussion didn't start between the two governments. Nah. Two private individuals, they were talking with each other. Why? Let's see. As I said, can you actually trust Pakistan? No, we can't. Now the thing is, say India proposes something peaceful to Pakistanis. India proposes, fine, let's do this, let's maintain peace in the region. Can you guarantee that Pakistan, they would not reject the proposal and then they would not start shouting in the media that, see the Indians, they're so weak, they came to us begging for peace and mercy? High chances they can do that. And if they do so, what will be the image of Indian government? They lose the image. There will be a number of people in India who will be calling for the head of the Prime Minister. How could you make India look so weak? Nah? Though it's a good initiative, though peace should be given a chance. Guys, you tell me one thing. When do you think a country grows faster? In the situation of war, a situation of riot, or in a situation of peace? Right? Why so? Say you take a loan, of 20 lakh rupees from the bank, and you have to start a business of your own. You have to start a shop of your own. Would you like to open the shop in an area where war is going on, where riot is taking place? Obviously not. What's the guarantee that tomorrow someone would not hurl a bomb at your shop? The shop will be destroyed, but you will still be liable to the bank. You're still supposed to pay that 20 lakh rupees back to the bank. And how are you going to do that? Right? That's the issue here. Right? On the other hand, in a peaceful area, what happens? You invest the money, develop the shop with the expectation that you sell, you do the business, you return back the money. That's why economy and other things, the prosperity of the society comes in a peaceful environment. Not in an environment of tension, stress, riots and all that nonsense. Clear? So the simple thing, that's why normally every government, they at least aspire to maintain a peaceful situation. But if we propose peace to Pakistan, what's the guarantee that the government of Pakistan, I'm not talking about the people of Pakistan, common people of Pakistan are just like you and me, believe me. They have got a lot to lose, nothing to gain from this nonsense. But the people in the government of Pakistan, those great people anyway, right? What's the guarantee that they would not be doing any nonsense? In this condition, can you directly approach them? Not possible. And in case of track to diplomacy, what happens? It gives us something called deniability. Say, during this discussion only, right? Say Kuldeep Nair had approached that Pakistani journalist and they were talking, right? And maybe the Pakistani journalist went to the Pakistani government as well. Obviously, he went to the Pakistani government as well. At that point of time, it was Pervez Musharraf who was in the chair. Say, even if Pakistan had said, okay, see, the Indians are so weak, they came to us with proposal for peace. Government of India could have said, no, we didn't go to you. We don't know, without our knowledge, Kuldeep Nair went as a private individual. It was his initiative. We didn't go to you. So don't talk all that nonsense to us. This is what? Deniability. If the Pakistanis had gone wrong, gone rogue, we could have denied any involvement. The government of India could have denied the involvement. So again and again we see track to diplomacy taking place. I'm using one of the most high-profile examples of the recent times. 2015, Prime Minister of India, Sri Narendra Modi, he was coming from Afghanistan, from Kabul to India. Right? All of a sudden, in the mid-air, the Prime Minister decided to change the course. And the plane landed in Lahore instead of New Delhi. Why? The pilot lost vision. Or do you think the Prime Minister felt like, okay, let's go and have some biryani in Lahore? Not possible, right? See, you can go unannounced to your relative's house or to your friend's house. Prime Minister of a country cannot go unannounced to another country. Because the Prime Minister is the symbol of the country. The Prime Minister is not only the head of the government, the Prime Minister is also the symbol of the country. So why did he go there that way? What happened? I'm looking at that day. The day when the Prime Minister of India went to Lahore, not Islamabad, Lahore specifically. Why? Lahore is the hometown of the then Prime Minister of Pakistan. Who? Nawaz Sharif, Mian Nawaz Sharif. Right? That day was the birthday of Mian Nawaz Sharif, and at the same point of time, one of his grandniece was getting married. So there was a huge function organized in the house of Mian Nawaz Sharif. And in that function, one Indian businessman was present. Sajjan Jindal, Chairman, JSW. Jindal Steels, because of their business interest in Dubai, they have close association with Sharif family. Sharif family, they have businesses as well, and they're also a political family in Pakistan. So Jindal Steel had close association with Sharif family, and Sajjan Jindal was present there. So practically what was happening? Sajjan Jindal was the go-to man between the two governments. Tension between India and Pakistan was rising. And Sajjan Jindal was trying to diffuse the situation. He was talking to the Pakistanis as well, to the Indians as well. Right? When things came to a level, then only it was conveyed to the Prime Minister of India, and the government of India got involved. That's why the Prime Minister went there, to normalize the situation. Clear? So these kind of use of private individuals or people who are not part of the government in diplomacy, that's track to diplomacy. Again, why? Say if anything had gone wrong, India could have said it was Mr. Sajjan Jindal, a businessman and a private person who tried to do this. We had no role in that. Deniability. Clear? Again and again, there are a number of such examples of track to diplomacy. where private individuals are used by the government on the occasion where there is trust deficit, where you don't trust the other party. Normally the governments, they go for track 2 diplomacy. Clear? Now, what is track 3 diplomacy?